In today's lesson, we'll talk about the cone of experience. Ang term na cone of experience, it's a term used by Edgar Gale to describe a visual model of or a pictorial device that presents the different experiences arranged according to the degree of abstraction and not degree of difficulty. So let us observe the cone of experience by Dale. Now, this model called the cone of experience classifies educational media o yung mga ginagamit na materials in teaching and in learning. And kung mapapansin natin, so from the bottom or at the base of the cone, makikita natin yung mga concrete experiences or let's say from the most concrete experiences, nasa base siya, to the most abstract na nasa tip or top of the pyramid in this model. Now, kung mapapansin nyo, sa model, it does not contain any numbers whatsoever. And also no claims about remembering, which is the basic or the base naman pagdating doon sa Bloom's taxonomy, yung nagdi-describe ng paano natututo ang mga estudyante, which is yung pinakamababaw daw na level ay yung remembering or memorizing. Furthermore, ano pang ma-observe natin dito sa the cone of experience? So, hindi gumamit si Dale ng word na retention. Okay? So, it does not this model does not made use of those words to describe the outcome of a particular learning experience, nor does he present any numbers referring to empirical research. Although magaling ito si Dale sa statistics, okay? But he was very careful, okay? He was cautious about limiting any statistical claims with painstaking care. So, ang gusto niya lang i-present dito ay ang different levels of experiences from the most concrete to abstract ng pwede nating magamit in teaching and learning process. Okay, so let's take a closer look at the levels of the cone, starting with number 10 or yung nasa tip, yung verbal symbols or text. Verbal symbols bear no resemblance to the objects or ideas they stand for. Yung verbal symbols refers to text or words. And kung makikita po natin, these words or texts, hindi naman siya kahawig or kaitsura ng mga objects or ideas that it stand for. Okay? Example dito ay yung basahin natin yung salitang ito, mansanas. Okay? It means apple in Filipino, our mother tongue. Now, the letters or the text mansanas, mansanas, and apple, apple, it don't look or sound or smell or taste or feel anything like the actual fruit. What these texts do is share a common meaning that tayo, mga native Filipino and English speakers, learn at a very young age and that we understand. So, verbal symbols or texts. Okay, ang sinasabing most abstract daw sa cone of experience. Kung pupuntahan naman natin yung other theories, without other, kung wala tayong experience, pag may nabasa tayong word and we do not even have any background knowledge or experience with that word, hindi natin siya lubusang naiintindihan. Okay? So, punta natin yung number 9. So, number 9, visual symbols. So, charts, graphs, maps, etc., diagrams, and nowadays, usong-uso to, infographics. These are said to be substitute for literal reality. So, ang infographic is a combination of keywords plus shapes and then mga patterns. It shows us relationships in numeric data and ito po ang purpose ng infographics. Kasi daw po, ang brain natin, it prefers visual interpretability of bars, lines, and plots. And hindi lamang po ito ginagamit na mga visual symbolism for numbers. It could also represent ideas, okay? Connections or relationships. Okay? Mga halimbawa nito makikita natin in most posts, 'di ba? Yung mga percentage, mga relationship ng um, mga tips. Ayan, yung mga tips, mga how-tos, pinapakita yan in infographics. So, diagrams and schematics reduce the assembly, operation, and repair of concrete objects into simple illustrations free of unnecessary details. So, mapapansin nyo sa infographic, let's say, from a big research, mahabang research, if they just want to give you the meat or pinaka-importanting details, they could make an infographic of the most important information from that very long or lengthy research na hindi naman binabasa and they're going to make an infographic out of it. Okay? Another concrete example of this ay yung maps. Yan, if you want to emphasize the continents or the specific places, yan, maps. Events from the past, ang ginagawa po ay gumagawa ng timelines. Ayan, timelines sa history ng literature or kung ano man ng mga other events. So, history of yan, kung paano na-develop ang communication. Yan, meron po tayong mga ginagawang timelines to show us the events from the past. So just about any reality we need to explain clearly can be easier to understand with visual symbolism. Kayo po, as you report, as you discuss, as you present, you often make use of these infographics. And if you will do your demo, yan, maganda pong gumamit kayo ng visual symbols aside from text. Next is still pictures, radio recordings, photos, podcast, audio. So for Dale, yung still pictures ay isinama niya sa radio recordings, yan, mga podcasts and audio. So a feast for the eyes or ears. So in this level, okay, it represents unisensory media that we can experience in no fixed order. Photographs and audio recordings. Notice that unlike common misrepresentation of the cone of experience which treat seeing as more effective than hearing, kay Dale po, he placed still pictures on the same level of abstraction as radio and recordings. Let's say, kayo, as you watch this, nakikita nyo yung pictures. Let's say, still picture of an apple. Now, when I say the word, when you hear the word apple, so pareho lang din ano, it's sinasabi niya same lang yung understanding or both could be in the same level of understanding when you just hear it and then when you see it according to Dale. But this is a question that perhaps you would like to answer. Did combining textual, yung words, visual, and auditory inputs, just like what I am doing right now. It's a combination of text because you can read the question, visual because you can see the example, the apple, and you can hear me, auditory. Do this three combined, the textual, visual, and auditory input, strengthen the connection between abstraction and the meaning? Ano po sa tingin ninyo? So if not, according to Dale, repetition is necessary. 7. Motion pictures. This refers to videos and animations na usong-uso ngayon or patok na patok sa mga millennial learners. So moving pictures, videos, yan, is a feast for the eyes and ears. And it's an abstraction of real life processes and events. Bakit nga ba gusto-gusto natin manood ng mga movies? Ayan, ng mga vlogs. So all those streaming experiences can't recreate the richness of reality. and they deliver that reality in a deliberate and contrived order, this loss of directness has certain compensating advantages. So mayroon daw advantages in learning itong videos and animations. Not only do learning videos edit out the irrelevant stuff from the live edition of the show, they can add zoom or mga effects, slow motion to parts we should concentrate on, which we can rewind and replay as many times as it takes. Kung mapapansin nyo, kung noon, pag nag-lesson, natapos na yung lesson, hindi ka nakinig, nakipagdaldalan ka sa classmate mo, hindi mo na magigets yung lesson. Pero if the video is, if your teacher recorded a video lecture, then you can rewind, replay as many times as you want. So with other things that you're interested in, let's say, kagaya ng isang araw, nagka-problem yung aking Microsoft Word. Nagkaroon ng error. So what I did is I visited a YouTube um, video and tried to troubleshoot the problem by following the video. So, yun, I was able to rewind and replay as many times as I want to. Yan, para mai-apply ko yung steps doon to fix the problem in my computer. So, yan. Number 6, exhibits. Meaningful displays with limited handling. Ito po yung next doon na makikita natin sa pyramid or sa cone of experience. So, for most of us, hindi tayo sanay sa mga exhibits, ano? But now we have online exhibits wherein um, we can feast with our eyes as well, pero hindi natin mahawakan. Just like when you visit Instagram or Pinterest, marami tayong makikita dyan ng mga infographics and pictures, or para na rin silang mga exhibits kasi sa collection of information na inarrange siya for us to feast with our eyes. Sometimes, um, yun nga po, we can zoom it in, we can also look at the details, but we're restricted to touch. Iba din po yung experience when you enter a museum. Okay? So, you can really observe it closely. Ang ni-imagine ko dito, class, ay let's say, yung paintings. Let's say, yung famous painting ni Michelangelo, or let's say, sabihin natin yung painting ng Mona Lisa. Iba yung makita mo lang siya sa video or sa a still picture of Mona Lisa. And iba din yung experience kapag ikaw ay pumasok dun sa museum where the painting is. And yes, you may be restricted to touch it, but you can look closely to it. May kakaibang experience yung personally you are there to observe. Yan. Meaningful displays with limited handling. Next is field trips. Now, ito naman po, of course, lahat naman siguro tayo ay naka-experience nito, field trips. So, kami po as a biology student, mahalaga sa amin yung field trips because we study animals, we study plants, we have a worksheet. May sinasagutan kami, kung kayo sa education, may sinasagutan kayong worksheet. Meron din sa mga science majors, meron kaming anatomy and physiology worksheet, zoology sa animals, and then botany for plants. But when we do field trips, iba ang experience because yung pinag-aralan naming mga, let's say, yung mga mushrooms, yung mga plants, and then when we visit certain places wherein we are, walking, na-observe mo talaga yung paligid mo, it has or it delivers a different kind of experience. Or tinatawag din to mga study trips, educational trips, excursions, na talagang you're able to observe the things that's happening around you in real life, kaya lang limitado lang yung time. And it's also a different experience when you just talk about, let's say, yung falls or yung mga forest sa classroom. And it's also different when you just see it on video, and it also feels different. It has a different experience for students when you are there. Yan, sa isang field trip. Next ay demonstrations. Okay, ito naman applicable to in really specific topics or subjects that we teach, wherein um, sa demonstration, you show how it works and how you do it. Now, for exhibits and field trips, like exhibits and field trips, demonstrations may or may not include an element of participation. Ngayon, marami tayong mapapanood na video of demonstrations. Okay, in some learning situations, seeing how it's done isn't much good if we can try it for ourselves. In others, either the demonstration alone gives us what we need to know, or hands-on activity is logistically unfeasible. Okay. Ito naman po ay, yun nga po, may mga science students, they could not perform experiments. So, ang ginagawa ng ibang teacher ngayon, binivideo nila yung kanilang sarili doing the experiment and demonstrate it sa kanilang estudyante. On the other hand, some teachers will require both. So, them demonstrating and the student also doing something sa kanilang mga bahay, and then they're going to demonstrate this as well or experience doing it. So, pwedeng ganun daw po ang demonstration. One, just showing it, how it's done, how it works, while the other is just watching. But in some cases, it could be done by both. So, syempre may nagturo and then gagawin ng mga nag-observe ng demonstration. Okay. The third is dramatic participation, role play exercises na malimit ninyong gawin nung meron pa tayong face-to-face class. I remember my class in oral communication or in purposive communication wherein sila gumawa ng kanilang program. And that's a very a good experience for them to experience how it is to be a guest speaker, to be a host, yeah, to perform. So for some students, they enjoy doing role play. Yan. So ang advantage daw ng role play or dramatization of real life experiences, well, limited lang yung time na naibibigay. So some who are good in this eliminate elements that mean little, and yan, binibigyan lang ng emphasis kung ano yung topic or dapat na i-showcase at that particular time, and then giving emphasis to what is being asked or what really matters. Ano ba yung dapat na ipakita? Okay? So here, in dramatic participation, you reconstruct situations for instructional purposes. Ayan. So from observers to participants. Now, yun nga po, by dramatization, we can participate in a reconstructed experience even though the original event is far removed from us in time. For example, we relive the outbreak of the Philippine Revolution by acting out the role of characters in a drama. Yun. So that's another kind of experience too. Next is contrived experiences, simulations, and some gamification. Ngayon nauuso na to in education, wherein some would make an educational app wherein the students can really participate. Very simple example din naman ito is like you want to learn how to drive or fly a plane, then you can um, download yan an app wherein para kang talagang nagda-drive in real world. So ito daw po yung mga contrived experiences. Now, contrived experiences are imitations that teach and imitate realities. Yan po ang ginagawa ng contrived experiences. So we make use of our representative models or mock-ups of reality for practical reasons, and so that we can make the real life accessible to the students' perceptions and understanding. Okay. And syempre, ang pinaka nasa base or most concrete daw in the cone of experience is the direct purposeful experiences or hands-on practice. Now, at the base of Dale's cone of experience, we learn through first-hand participation with responsibility for the outcome. So, It is the rich, full-bodied experience that is the bedrock of all education. Iyan po ang pinapakita ng model na ito. That without the student doing it, doing it hands-on, okay, para kay Dale, dun lamang makikita na may natutunan talaga. Okay? It is the purposeful experience that is seen, handled, tasted, felt, touched, and smelled. It is the unabridged version of life itself. Tangible experience, which we commonly refer to as something you can get your fingers on, something you can sink your teeth into. Okay, so marami tayong mga hands-on practice. Kagaya po ng, ano pa ba, may papagawa, let's say sa ano, pinapagawa kayo ng mga product. Yan, kayo mismo ang gagawa. So that's a hands-on experience. In teaching, let's say, hindi ka lang nag-demo, kundi talaga may tinuruan kang bata or kapwa mo na estudyante. That's a hands-on experience. So it's a different experience when you just video yourself without any student and then you deliver a lesson. Pero iba din kapag meron ka talagang ano, hands-on experience with a student. Okay, and that develops your teaching and learning skill different when you just watch or do a role play or demo of teaching. But I'm not saying it doesn't help, but yun nga po, it has different levels of experience. That these different levels of experience, I also depende sa estudyante, would help you really um, or affect your teaching and learning. Mm. Now, ano bang saysay? Ano ba, bakit kailangan natin pag-usapan itong the cone of experience in your course? Because may implications po or ano ba pinapahiwatig nitong the cone of experience in your teaching and learning process? So ito daw po yung mga pitfalls na kailangan nating tandaan or iwasan when we teach or sa inyo pong gagawing finals. Yan. So, in teaching, we do not only use one medium of communication in isolation. So those different things, okay, could be considered as learning aids or learning experiences. May iba-iba siyang effects sa estudyante. So instead of using one, we can use many instructional materials to help various learners communicate and conceptualize his or her experience. Kung ito namang concept na ito ay i-coconnect natin sa iba't ibang learning styles ng mga estudyante natin. Yan. Next is we avoid teaching directly at the symbolic level of thought without adequate foundation of the concrete. So maraming estudyante ngayon ay hindi talaga yung nagbabasa, yung mga mahilig magbasa ng libro and so on and so forth. We rely on the visuals or the videos that we watch. But without the foundation of the concrete or yung talagang hands-on experience, kahit anong basa or nood mo ng video, kung wala ka talagang foundation of how it is done, how it works, then it will not be a solid or hindi magandang foundation in teaching. Kulang yung matututunan ng mga bata. That's why modeling, okay, practicing what you teach will really um, help the learners more rather than you just sending words or still pictures. But it also helps, okay? Ang sinasabi lang dito is mahalagang magkaroon ng magandang foundation, knowing the literal, okay, literal before pumunta dun sa abstraction or mga abstract or symbolic level of thought. Natatandaan ko yung lesson sa developmental reading. Without also understanding the literal, the words itself, the actions, and wala. Hindi rin tataas yung understanding mo doon sa symbolic level. So when teaching, we don't also get stuck in the concrete or yung iba sinasabing literal level. Let us strive to bring our students to the symbolic or abstract level to develop higher order thinking skills. But without Yan, adequate foundation of the concrete. Yung basic knowledge mo doon sa, yan, literal meaning, hindi ka rin tataas doon sa symbolic level of thought mo. That's why maraming estudyante nahihirapan pag English ang subject because we don't usually put it into practice. We don't use that word in our everyday conversation. That's why may nagre-request sa akin na pwede daw Tagalog or Filipino. Yun nga, because we don't practice or we don't use this English medium in our everyday life. That's why we find it difficult to use this. So, ang pwede natin gawin is put it into practice. Yan, hands-on. Kailangan natin talaga siyang i-practice or gawin and make use of it in our everyday life. So that's the cone of experience and its implication in your teaching and learning process. So I hope you learned something new today and you'll find this useful in your preparation of learning aids or materials for your demo. Okay, so God bless and see you again next time.